Regulation G has officially been announced, and of course you guys can see it on the screen. It is available from May 1st to August 31st, meaning that it is not only going to be the format for the next few months, it is going to be the World Championship format present in Hawaii whenever we do get the dates, because for some reason we're still waiting for World Championship dates, but we do know it will be in August. So this will be the World Championship date. What we're going to do today, guys, we're going to quickly talk about the format, and then we're going to go over some of the pieces, some of the new tools that are available to you guys really, really briefly, just to kind of give you guys a breakdown of my thoughts and see where we're at immediately once the format's been dropped, because it did just release last night. So, I figured to get this video out, talk about some things. But what you guys are here for, so I'm not rambling anymore. The format itself. It is basically the same as Regulation F, as all these regulations seem to do. However, they always seem to add something. In this case, we are adding the ability to utilize one restricted Pokemon. And a general rule of thumb, a restricted Pokemon is basically something like a box art legendary, like a Kyogre or a Groudon, or a like a Xerneas of Yveltal, even though Xerneas and Yveltal aren't actually in the game. You guys can see the list on the screen here. I'll quickly scroll through it. Nothing crazy, but we got likes of Lunala, Zacian, Calyrex as well, right? I'll leave this full list for you guys down below so you guys can take a full on look at it to figure out exactly what is legal or not. But more importantly, let's talk about a little this, because adding a restricted Pokemon is a major, major game changer when it comes to not only team building, but also when it comes to playing the game. Because a lot of the times, these restricted Pokemon are going to be your strongest Pokemon on the team, are going to be the centerpiece of the team. I want to start off immediately with the two new restricted legendaries, since we haven't talked about them yet. Oh, we're doing this on Showdown, aren't we? Oh, we got the April Fool sprites, guys. We got the April Fool sprites. They're killing my video, but it's funny, so we're going to roll with it. Anyways, we're going to start with the two new ones, guys. And Miraidon, of course, absolutely busted ability, busted move with Electro Drift. And I think the biggest takeaway from Miraidon here, and the biggest thing I'm looking forward to utilizing, is the fact that we now have an electric terrain setter that doesn't just suck. I'm sorry, Pink Urchin fans, but yeah, no. Miraidon is actually a Pokemon that is a good Pokemon. Not only good, it's incredible. The stats are incredible. It's basically a Fluttermane, but bulkier, with obviously Electric Dragon typing. It's never been a bad thing. If people were trying to use Zekrom in the past, people are going to definitely be making Miraidon work. And utilizing an Electro Drift, which gives you 1.3 times damage on the super effective attacks. This pairs nicely with the electric terrain. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. You get the electric terrain yourself, you get the boosted to physical hits, then you get the big damage with electric. It's 100% accurate. And I think this is what a lot of people forget about. A lot of these restricted legendaries, they build themselves like Groudon with that Precipice Blades, right? Kyogre with the Origin Pulse. Missing tends to be what happens in these formats, right? Now, granted, you guys were letting Bleak Wind Storm like crazy, so maybe y'all are used to it. But I don't know about you guys, but I love seeing legendaries with 100% accurate moves. And it doesn't seem that overpowered. Obviously, it's a very, very strong move, but it's not one of those ones where it's like base 165. I'm not talking to you, Calyrex. Not looking at you, Calyrex. But we're going to worry about that in a minute. But Miraidon, probably going to see a lot of usage. I think it's really, really strong. You get the electric terrain, which helps out every single one of the future Paradox Mons. So stuff like Iron Bundle seems really, really good with Miraidon. Right now you're getting the boost on Iron Bundle with an item on Iron Bundle. You no longer need to fully commit to booster energy to be that fast anymore. You just have an item on top of it. So I think I'm very, very, very looking forward to utilizing Miraidon. Not only because Electro Drift damage is just absolutely ridiculous, but also because it's finally going to be capable of allowing you to team build with some of those Paradox Pokemon that were restricted by needing a booster energy that no longer need it. Really, really looking forward to seeing how Miraidon shapes up a restricted format. Obviously, it is only a single restricted format, not quite the double restricted that we're used to seeing yet. But a single restricted, I think I'm very looking forward to seeing. I think Miraidon is going to be really, really solid. Koraidon, new Sunsetter. We don't see Sunsetters too often nowadays, right? Like before we had Groudon. That was your Sunsetter of a Pokemon. That was your Sunsetter as your restricted or Torkoal. Now, Koraidon, I think, is really, really strong once again. It is now a Sunsetter that doesn't take 50% from a water spell on switching. And I think that not only helps Koraidon be strong, but it also hinders Kyogre as well. I think both of the new restricted Pokemon that we're allowed to use are actually going to be hindering Kyogre quite a bit, along with the Ogerpon water, but we'll get into that in a future video. For right now, Koraidon, like I said, setting that sun, and during sunny day, your attack boost, you have your attack boosted, similar to that Miraidon in electric terrain. And of course, you have Collision Course. Now, Collision Course is basically fighting type. I don't know. It's just a really strong fighting type move. It's 100% accurate. It doesn't have any recoil, so it's not like high jump kick or anything like that. Base 100 power, which is really, really strong. A lot stronger than the likes of Brick Break or Drain Punch. You also, of course, get the boost. You are hitting hard with this move. Strong fighting type coverage is really, really good. Always has been. My one concern with Koraidon is that Urshifu is still very, very good. Are we going to want to double up on fighting coverage? I would say no as a general instance, that you wouldn't, if you're going to run Koraidon, you probably wouldn't want Urshifu, right? Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know, but I feel like Koraidon is really, really strong. Of course, you get Dragon moves as well. I don't know if you'd go Outrage. I feel like Dragon Claw might just be more consistent. I also feel like I'm probably missing a move here. I'm going to be honest, guys. I haven't really looked too far into the format as of right now, but I am very curious to see how Koraidon pulls through. I know Miraidon's going to be good. That is a given. Right, Miraidon's going to be good when you can not only boost yourself, but boost everybody else. Same with the Sun. Koraidon, right, you have ways to not only be cycled around yourself here, because that's what it is in a restricted format, right? This is your main piece. This is the piece you're trying to get going. You're trying to get into position more often than not. But being able to boost other Pokemon as well around you just enables that so much more. So you both, just simply because of their abilities, both of these Pokemon are going to be really, really strong in this format. Right? How strong, we're not sure yet, because we have to wait for at least a couple days into the format. The format did just go live on Showdown, so you guys know I'll be playing that and getting some testing in. But I'll do a full-on ranking list later on. I don't want to spend too much time on these guys, but they're both going to be good. They're both new to the game, and I wanted to really highlight those first. What I do want to talk about is Calyrex. Both Calyrex Ice and Calyrex Shadow. We have seen them before, but I think it's very funny, the April Fool's spreads. They keep throwing me off. I'm like, huh? What's going on? Anyways, Calyrex Ghost, incredibly strong, guys, okay? Astral Barrage, base 120 spread move, 100% accurate. Pair that with your base 150 speed stat. You throw a Focus Sash on this generally as what you would do in the past, and you just have a Mon that's killing things. This Mon is killing things. It gets a boost to its special attack when it gets a kill, thanks to as one being able to have both of the Grimnay and the Unnerve abilities. Feels incredibly strong, right? And it always will be. Same with the counterpart of Calyrex Ice, gonna be really strong. The thing with Calyrex Shadow, though, is you don't need to set Trick Room for it to be good. You can just you don't necessarily need the speed control for it to sweep, right? Calyrex can kind of just hit the field and just start going, right? You tend to need Focus Sash. The bulk is not bad, right? Back in the day when you could not terrestrialize, you had that weakness, right? You were, oh, I'm 4 times weak to Ghost, I'm 4 times weak to Dark. That made the bulk seem really bad on Calyrex, right? Oh, Sucker Punch is going to one-shot. But now you have the ability to Terra. And I think Calyrex, with the ability to Terra, 180 is not bad bulk at all. You're going to be capable of living things that you normally wouldn't be able to live. You're going to stick on the field for a little longer. You may not even need a Focus Sash if you're that committing to being able to Terra this in more of your matches. I still think Focus Sash is one of the primary or best items on this piece, but I don't think it's a necessity anymore now that you have the bulk and the ability to Terra. Once again, like I said before, you're going to get the counterpart of this Calyrex in Calyrex Ice. And you're going to have Glacial Lance. 120 base power, 100% accurate. Spread Ice move in Trick Room. That seems pretty strong to me. This thing is the epitome of bulk at base 100, 150, 130. 165 base attack stat. You can now pair this thing with a Clear Amulet, because one of your best interests before was to kind of intimidate it, right? You start Intimidate cycling it, you bring it down to -1, it's no longer threatening, and you cycle out of Trick Room. Cycling out of Trick Room versus a Calyrex that can no longer get intimidated, is terrifying. That sounds absolutely horrifying, and I'm not sure if I want to be part of that. But anyways, here we are. It's going to be a good Pokemon, guys. Okay? This is going to be a really strong option on every team. Glacial Lance, spread ice move, 100% accurate. Really, really good. If you wanted to get a little bit cheeky as well, you can maybe pair this thing with Aurora Veil and maybe like an Alolan Ninetales. Then you get a snow defense boost, a Aurora Veil defense boost, and then you just pretty much you're not dying at that point. I don't know if you're ever dying at that point because like you can tear it out of any weakness you may not want, right? Like it just feels incredibly, incredibly strong. It always has been an incredibly strong Pokemon, and now not being able to intimidate it thanks to something like Clear Amulet feels really, really, really good for lack of better terminology. Keep an eye on the Calyrexes. That's where I'd start. I have to talk Groudon and Koraidon. Groudon and Kyogre, right? We have to talk Groudon Kyogre, right? It just has to happen. You don't play a restricted format without talking Groudon and Kyogre. Groudon's going to be really good. Once again, you have access to this new item in Clear Amulet, and I'm very curious to see how this helps Groudon function. Because once again, getting an Intimidate off into Groudon was really, really good for you. Not being able to do that anymore, and clicking Precipice Blades, just base 120, I think Groudon and Kyogre got done dirty because if they're going to click Precipice Blades at 85% accurate, how come the Calyrexes get to be 100% accurate? I don't know. I didn't make the rules. But like I said before at the beginning, guys, everybody's been clicking Bleak Wind Storm and seemingly had no issues with it. So I guess y'all can go click Precipice Blades and not have issues with it either. You get to Terra the Groudon as well now, which I think really, really comes in handy. You get access to Heat Crash. You are an incredibly heavy Pokemon. You can just hit things incredibly, incredibly hard, right? Maybe you go Terra Fire and just commit to being a Fire type all of a sudden, right? Channel your inner Primal Groudon. Obviously, there's a lot of other ways to do that. You can go maybe Terra Grass, get some defensive Terras out there, right? But I think between Clear Amulet, having Precipice Blades, all in all, with coverage like Heat Crash, maybe Rock Slide as well, this Pokemon is once again going to be really, really strong. And more importantly, is going to do really, really well into the Miraidon teams. Stopping Miraidon's Electric Drift and hitting it back super effectively, if you can find a way to maneuver with Groudon, seems really, really strong for this piece. I think it's going to be a really good option in the meta, and I think you're going to see this is going to be kind of one of the bases of one of the balanced teams. You don't see Groudon on balance too often, but I can definitely see it here, and I definitely think you're going to be seeing Groudon on a lot of teams in this format. Kyogre, I'm going to be honest, there is a lot of Kyogre hate right now, okay? And I mean a lot of hatred towards Kyogre. Like, there is a Miraidon. There is an Ogerpon Water. There is a Raging Bolt. There is a lot. There is a new Sunsetter that doesn't take 50% on switching. I don't think Kyogre is going to be all that good. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to have its usage. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's going to not be the same Kyogre that it always was. Because once again, though, Terra Water Water Spout, if it's allowed to go burr, Terra Water Water Spout is going to go burr, right? There's no denying that, right? If you get up versus like a Calyrex team and you click Water Spout, right? That's probably one of your best ways to deal with Calyrex, right? You resist the Glacial Lance. You hit it hard with big big special water moves, right? That's probably your best way to go about approaching one of those matchups if you are looking at Kyogre. It's going to be strong. I just think there's a lot of hatred towards it, so we're going to have to see how the meta develops for it to be utilized. I'm missing a bunch of Pokemon, guys. I don't want to be here too long because I am going to do full-on like tier lists and stuff and breakdowns of each Pokemon. One Pokemon I am very, very intrigued to see how it works, though, Kyurem White. And that's because Kyurem White has seen niche usage in the past, right? Oh, we didn't talk about Zacian yet either, but I'll get to that eventually. You get Turbo Blaze, meaning it's basically a mold breaker, meaning you no longer care about their abilities when you are attacking, which is really, really strong. You get the likes of Freeze Dry if you're worried about hitting Ogerpon Water. You get Blizzard if you're wanting to run Snow. And if you do run Snow, you fix your weakest stat. You buff up your weakest stat in Snow if you do want to pair this thing with something like a Ninetales or an Abomasnow. I do think Ninetales would be the way to go. But then you just have base 170 special attack. Like, people forget how strong this Pokemon is simply because it's typing. And it's never really amounted to anything. But I think with a potential Snow Boost, potentially the way the meta is shaping up, I think Kyurem could be a very, very strong option. I also think if you can go Choice Scarf and outpace like the Miraidons and stuff and get this thing into snow, it could be very fun. Now this is just me spewing off the top of my head. Don't quote me on this. Don't be like, oh, Ryan says Choice Scarf is really, really good. This was just something I thought of immediately as we were talking about it, and I said, why not? I'll put it in, I'll talk about it. Okay, don't quote me on this, guys, okay? Please. Please. But one more Pokemon that I clearly forgot to talk about, guys, is going to be the Zacian. Now, they nerfed this thing, right? They have nerfed this thing. It has gone down a little bit. Its attack stat has been lowered. It has been, you only get the Intrepid Sword boost the first time you hit the field. If you switch out and switch back in, you will not get the Intrepid Sword boost, right? So they have nerfed it a tad bit, and I think it's enough of a nerf as well, because at the end of the day, it is still restricted. You no longer get the Behemoth Blade really mattering for anything, right? Like, Behemoth Blade used to be so good because it would just do the same damage to Dynamax stuff, but now you don't have Dynamax Pokemon. So it just is effectively an 100 base power steel move. You don't get that added benefit anymore, right? Now, granted, it's still a very strong Pokemon. I think it's still really, really good, right? Something I do want to talk about, though, with the ability to Terra, because having Fairy Steel typing was really, really good. Something I want to talk about with the ability to Terra is something I'm very confused with, or very... confused is not the right word. I think concerned is a cool word, because I think this could be something fun, right? And you can now go something like Clear Amulet. You still get an Intrepid Sword boost, and you're still a Fairy type, but now with Terra, once again, if these restricted Pokemon are the bulk of your team, are the base of your team, you can go Terra, and maybe you just make yourself a Terra Steel type. So now you are still a Fairy, technically a Fairy Steel type, right, when you want to be. It's a little bit more commitment, but do you get more benefit of holding a Clear Amulet instead of relying on not having an item? Is having an item on regular Zacian and the ability to Terra better than running actual Zacian? It's a topic of interest. It's something I want to touch upon in my team building as well, right? Tons of cool options in this format, right? I will just take a quick glance to make sure I'm not missing anything crazy. Lunala is another Pokemon that's probably going to see a lot of usage. Necrozma is always fun as well. There's going to be people that try Solgaleo. I mean, it's going to happen. People are going to try it. Yeah, sure. I'm not a big fan of Solgaleo. Never really have been, but I'm going to catch hate for that. Hashtag Solgaleo sucks in the comment section down below if you guys are still watching this far. But no, with that, there's a ton of cool options here, guys. I'm very curious to see how the formats develop. You also have to look at the Dialga origin, the Palkia origin, right? You have these new Pokemon from Legends Arceus that are now available as well. So there's Pokemon in this restricted format that have never been around. There's Pokemon like staples in restricted formats like Yveltal, like Xerneas, that are just not around anymore in this format. So we don't have to worry about Geomancy, right? That's crazy to me. Like, not playing a restricted format where I don't have to have an answer to a Geomancy Pokemon is kind of crazy. But either way, very, very excited about this format. I'm very excited to try it out. I do enjoy restricted formats a little bit more than I think the average person does. So maybe my excitement is a little bit more biased. But very excited to try out a lot of these pieces. And excited to make some power rankings and all that stuff for you guys as we lead into the actual Regulation G that does begin on May 1st. But with that, I'm going to stop rambling. I don't know how I talked about this for 18 minutes, but thank you all so much for watching, and have yourself a great day. I'll catch you all in a future video.